Welcome everybody to another edition of TEW 2020 as it's time for WCW 2004 and Showdown in their Sun, the first pay-per-view of our year, live from Monterrey, Mexico. But before we do that, we got a little bit of housekeeping, not house cleaning, as it's time for the 2003 WCW Year End Awards, a little later than I originally wanted, just basically because, well, I got a little lazy. But regardless, you'll see, don't worry about knowing this whole entire long Google Doc form. There'll be a shortened link in the description below, and wherever you see this on Reddit and such. Regardless, it's time for annual. Go ahead and pick what you want as the wrestler of the year. We got wrestler of the year, tag team of the year, women's wrestler of the year, match of the year, which is a combination of just the best rated matches and sort of the best storyline matches, moment of the year, face character of the year, heel character of the year, feud of the year. And then you got a response, but just your favorite wrestler in WCW, your favorite tag team so far, your favorite stable, and any other comments, suggestions, or criticisms. So just put what you want there, and no rewards or or anything for just filling these out. Just your own words. Let me know who you like, who you don't like, and what's your been favorite stuff so far that I booked this calendar year in WCW. But now it's time for the actual pay-per-view, so I'll be back with that in just a moment. So, of course, before our actual big matches for Showdown Sun, we've got a couple of pre-show matches, one of which I think might be better than the actual matches on the pay-per-view, but that's booking for you. Regardless, so we start with a pre-show match between the women, as in about that Trevor Wrestling, Nelson and Crowd Heat. Lexi James and Amber O'Neil defeated Jordan Cole and Angel Fox in 11:44, when Lexi James pinned Jordan Cole with a Lexi DT. So, solid win for Lexi. Just match some of our more popular women on the show. This gets a 57. Fox gets a 48, Jordan Cole gets a 53, Amber O'Neil gets a 48, Lexi James gets a 53, as we're in front of 17,599 people in Monterrey, Mexico. Solid women's match. And then we've got our next pre-show match. As next up, we've got in a decent pre-show match, which gets a 79, which again is going to be better than probably half the stuff on the show. Alex Wright and Air Raid defeated Mark Jindrak and American Was Wanted in 1526, when AJ Styles pinned Mark Jindrak with the Styles Clash. So you're probably typical, back and forth, probably a little lower than normal, just because these guys know they're on the pre-show. This gets a 79, as Air Paris gets a 76, Alex Wright gets a 76, AJ Styles gets a freaking 84, Mark Jindrak gets a 53, Storm gets a 64, and Chris Harris gets a 63. Good stuff, and I wanted, because of the way the tag title feud worked out, and because just sort of selling the fact that Air Raid have had, past couple months, both teams, they haven't been on TV much, but just want to still give them a match on the pay-per-view show, Anyway, we're off to the actual big show here, as we start off with it, our opening video going over, basically focusing on Eddy Guerrero and Mysterio Jr., because they're the Mexican stars, along with everything else going on, including the six-way cage heat tag match for the number one contendership, the Cruiserweight title match, and more. So again, let's get to 76, because basically I rated it properly, 4 minutes, and not, making it too long. And then, before our opening match, some royal music hits, and out comes Jerry Lawler to basically join the announcing team. Basically, this was a ratings ploy. Basically, not ratings as in TV ratings as in making a match ratings. I had gotten too many bad things about Dusty on being on color commentary, which is actually unfair, because Dusty was actually a pretty decent color commentator, but sometimes you gotta do things for the sake of the game. So here we are. Lawler's basically, I think I even showed this on stream, is basically the only really good color commentator in the game. So here he is. He'll make Jerry Lawler jokes, and there you go. But first, we have our opening match, which is in about that good wrestling and decent rank from the crowd. Jushin Liger defeated Jamie Noble in 1428 by pinfall with the Liger Bomb to win the Cruiserweight title. So again, back and forth, Cruiserweight style match. I didn't throw it in here officially, but I'm sure Eddy Noble tries to interfere, but he gets nailed with a shote or some sort of big move from Liger. Noble does his cheating, and Noble doesn't get squashed here because it does go over 14 minutes. But it's Liger is Jushin Liger, Cruiserweight legend. Jamie Noble is a jerk ass redneck rebel cheating bastard. But he still gets his move in, because he's still a good wrestler under all that. But at the end of the day, Liger is able to hit his big moves, hit the Liger Bomb, 1, 2, 3 to become the Cruiserweight champion. This gets an 81, because actually Liger is actually a little more over in Mexico than he is in the U.S. And he has a hot new move, which, what would it even be at this point? I mean, it wouldn't be the Shooting Star Press. It wouldn't be I mean, he had sort of like become more like not quite heavyweight legger, but like more of like a mat based, like probably some wacky submission or some like quasi power move. I don't know. But anyway, this gets an 81, and then post match like Liger celebrating gets a 74, which is again a lot better rating than we would get in America. Then moving forward with our next match, which is Mike Awesome drawing with Scott Steiner in 10:31, following a double count, which gets an 82. So yeah, this is just a complete brawl, and eventually, Steiner and Awesome both hit their big power moves. Match builds to the outside, and eventually the brawl and the fight just continues. Fight, and eventually the ref counts to 10 and rings the bell as this feud must continue, as it gets an 82, like I said. Awesome gets a 76, Steiner gets an 82. Backstage stuff, Steiner did complain a bit, so I had to make it look strong, so he probably had to do a big old, a bunch of suplexes on Awesome. But yeah, just a double count out. And then post-match, they continue to brawl, which gets a 78. So again, obviously didn't want to give a decisive winner to this quite yet. But, Awesome and Steiner both look good, and both get to look like badasses. In our next match, in a match that gets a 78, and about the good wrestling, decent match from the crowd, Jason Jett and Paul London get the huge win over Jeff Jarrett and Shane Douglas in 12:47, when Jason Jett pins Jeff Jarrett with a crash landing following botched interference from Ric Flair. So what I imagine actually happening here is like Flair comes out, to help Jarrett and Douglas. They, he doesn't so much botch it as Jarrett and Douglas like yell at him for being down here. Flair says, what you helped out Kanyon, now I can't help out you, and this allows like Jett and Lynn to wipe out Jarrett, Douglas, and Flair with some big old flying moves. Then Jett is able to like roll Jarrett in real quick, hit the crash landing, and get the pinfall victory. Like I said, this gets a 78, which is really good. London gets a 66, 65. Jett gets a 64. Douglas gets an 86. Jarrett gets an 85. And again, like Douglas still being this good in 2004 is probably one of the most unrealistic things about this save. But I gotta use him because he's still really good. And then post-match, of course, Jarrett, Douglas, and Flair all argue, which gets a 67. And this, just continues things as we continue on. And our next match is a match that sort of got made up real quick in just a couple weeks. As it's about the good wrestling and decent wrestling crowd, Kaz gets the huge win over Jeff Hardy. It says, by submission with a Kaz submission after interference from Lestat. So what I imagine here is, back and forth, high-flying, high-impact match between two really good wrestlers. But, what happens here is, of course, because, Jeff Hardy has been marked for receiving the message. Lestat of Deadpool comes out, spits, like, it's mist, but, announcers probably say it's like blood mist or something like that, some sort of red mist in Hardy's eyes. Kaz is able to lock in the Kaz mission, and with nowhere to go, the ref, Jeff Hardy has to submit in the middle of the ring with nowhere to go. This gets an 83, which is really good. Kaz gets a 68, Jeff Hardy gets an 80, and yeah, he hits the Whisper in the Wind or Senton Bomb, but in the end, it's not quite enough, as Kaz gets the huge win, as he celebrates afterwards to a 64. Again, this is part of my, all those people you basically didn't use well for the last half of 2003, actually use them a little better. And then we have something I basically made up in like the last couple weeks to figure out what to do once I figured out I wasn't using somebody who's pretty over Mexico. So what happens here real quick is Jonathan Toro comes out, insults Mexico, issues an open challenge to any but he puts over, he has the blood of the Romans who conquered the world. Well, you guys got conquered by the Spanish in like 3 days. There's a challenge to any Mexican wrestler in the back that he can take this world television title off of him, and La Parka's music hits to a big pop as La Parka comes out, plays the air guitar to the chair, and then goes after Toro. This gets a 50, and now it's time for the actual match. The match gets a 60, which is about 68, which is a lot better than I expected, mainly because again, Park is way more over in Mexico than he is in America, so there you go. About the decent of the crowd, but Subpar Wrestling, Jonathan Toro defeated La Parka in 806 by submission after interference from Romeo Lavanera. So Romeo runs in, is able to hit La Parka with some sort of high-flying move. Toro's able to hit his finisher and then lock in a submission as La Parka is tapped out, is knocked out, and make defense number 5 as a world television title. And post-match, Toro celebrates to a 54. So again, just a quick win to get some Toro overness over somebody who's actually over Mexico and give him a solid win on pay-per-view. And as we try to create some new stars out of the young guys this year. And then in our women's title match, in about the Subpar Wrestling and Noxus and Crowd Heat, again, Celine Cartier defeated Celine. Gail came in 12:07 by pinfall to Cis Levy, which I think is sort of I'll I'd have to double check and look it up. I think similar like air raid crash type of move. Whatever. I mean, you guys can look it up if you really like look up Lufisto's finishers. I'm sure I can figure out something. But regardless, back and forth, solid match. But at the end, Celine's actually manages to reverse a couple big moves from Gail Kim, and then hit the huge finishing move to actually get the big win over the former Women's World Champion and truly stake her claim as the rightful Women's Champion after winning in a four-way, as she makes defense number 1 of her WWE Women's World title in a 65. Gail Kim gets a 64. Celine Cartier gets a 56. But again, really good stuff. And again, in the post-match, Cartier gets a 62 to celebrate. And we're really moving on to the bigger matches. As next up, in a match that gets an 80 freaking 7. Oh my god. Rey Mysterio Jr. is real good. I don't know if you know this guy, but Rey Mysterio Jr. is a very good wrestler. But anyway, and by like good wrestling, decent run from the crowd, it got a 87, and it's good wrestling. Anyway, Rey Mysterio Jr. defeats Elix Skipper in 14:21 by pinfall with a Mysterio Rana. So basically a top rope, like that springboard Hurricane Rana he did. And Mysterio Jr. makes defense number 2 of his U.S. Heavyweight Championship. This gets an 87, like I said. Rey Jr. gets a 93. Elix Skipper gets a 52. Rey and Elix have great chemistry, which is interesting. And just like, I mean, I just imagine this is just a pure, like, mid-2000s cruiserweight / junior heavyweight style just banger. Like, think of, like, Rey Jr.'s best matches in the WWE, best cruiserweight style matches, and this is all that in front of a hot Mexican crowd. And again, Rey Jr. is able to, like, I assume Skipper hits the play of the day, but Rey Jr. kicks out. Rey Jr. even hits his, hits the 619 and the West Coast pop, but Skipper gets out of it. But in the end, Rey Mysterio Jr. is still a cruiserweight legend and one of the best wrestlers in the world. He's able to get pinfall victory over Elix Skipper, but Skipper gets to look real good. But still, an 87, wow. And then post-match, Rey Jr. celebrates to a pop as this gets a 73. And then, holy, oh my god, what the hell? I should do more shows in Mexico. Wow. Okay, and a freaking 97, which I think is our best match ever. Like, I'm like 95% sure this is our best match ever. So just, okay. So this, is like the story-based matches of story-based matches. So up in here is, this is, as you can see, just an awesome back and forth match. Like, it really looks like Booker and RVD are a well team, but so are the Triumvirate. Kidman is a great wrestler, so is Lance Storm. So Lance Storm does his technical stuff, locks and long submissions that RVD fights out of. Kidman does his cheap Kidman heel stuff. Booker, is unrelenting and active. RVD is just awesome going back and forth. And you even have like a false finish where Booker T actually hits the bookend and already hits 5-star frog splash on Storm, but Kidman makes a save at the last. No, what happens is like April Hunter basically pulls out the ref. This is pure 6 brawl. All well, Charmel's outside, like cheering on her man. But basically what happens is Booker is gets the long face long face imperial segment. But what happens is, like, as he looks, he's going, makes a tag to RVD. One of the other heels pulls down RVD out down from the apron, and things break down again. So Booker really gets his ass kicked, and finally, like, Booker T makes hot tag to RVD. RVD goes wild, but eventually, like, the heels make, like, sort of, like, I don't want to say, like, run in, get their own heel comeback. And it really looks like, but RVD fights back. I even imagine he hits the Van Damator on Storm, and he goes over to make the tag. But Charmel has been talking to Booker the whole time, as RVD, after RVD got pulled down and Booker got like his ass kicked for a couple minutes, and Booker T walks away with Charmel. And in the end, so RVD is now screwed. With no one to make tag to. Storm's the only tag to Kidman. Kidman runs in, gives him a few moves, and hits the Kid Crusher to make the pinfall victory, as to make the defense number 1 of their tag team titles. Like I said, this gets a friggin' 97. Storm gets an 81. Storm gets a 61, mainly because he was injured. Kidman gets an 88. RVD gets a 92. Booker T gets a 94. And Booker T turns heel. And yeah. And post-match, Kidman and Storm celebrate with a 67. So yeah, I mean, That's going to be the best match of the night. Like, I mean, I'm just telling you this now because the six way has a whole bunch of weird, like, gimmicks to it, and lots of guys who, like, aren't that over. And it's a wacky six man. And then main event, like, I mean, Eddy, like I said, Eddy's been, I don't want to say, like, disappointing because he hasn't been disappointing, but I really think he set the pop cap, but we'll just have to see here in a second. So after that, time for the the semi main event, which is like the six-way elimination cage heat match for the number one contendership. Everybody's coming down ringside, and then Goldberg comes down as the final man. When out of nowhere, Reno, Gigantes, and Cash just attack. Like as he's coming down through the sparklers, we see like the visuals of all three men, and they just go after Goldberg real quick. Just like Goldberg, of course, fights back, but Reno hits him with the roll of the dice. Gigantes hits a choke slam on him. WC officials, come down like sort of like to pull Goldberg out of the match, but Goldberg like throws them off and runs down and steps into the cage for the main event, which this angle gets a 70 as I think you can see what's going to happen from here. Match gets an 85. Ignore this order of elimination because it does not make reality. What actually happened is, of course, basically, from the beginning, Goldberg is then overwhelmed from basically all three heels after getting attacked like that. Kanyon immediately hits Cane Cutter, Helms hits super kick, Morningstar hits some more high flying move, and just like after O'Haire and Palumbo try to make the save, but obviously in the back of their mind it's helpful, kind of helpful but not helpful that Goldberg's in the match. So after a couple more minutes, Helms is able to hit a super kick and get the pinfall victory over Goldberg, eliminate him, like, let's say 5 or 6 minutes in. Crowd, big heel heat for that, because of course Goldberg is Goldberg. But then, basically it's, after that, O'Haire and Palumbo are sort of like hot fire, hot babyface fire, throwing Kanyon, Helms and Morningstar around, they even hit their tag, their old tag finisher, on Helms, but, Morningstar mysteriously makes a save, large preserve effect, Morningstar and Helms aren't on the same side, but O'Haire and Palumbo are a loyal team, so they need to work together a little bit. But eventually, Helms looks like he's going to hit the super kick, but O'Haire gets out of the way, and he drills Katie instead. Palumbo takes out Helms for a second. O'Haire is able to hit the Widowmaker and pin Kanyon to knock him out. So, two of the former world champions are now out of the match, which means a new, someone who has not been a world champion so far will get the title shot at Super Brawl. So it's down to a 2-on-2. O'Haire and Helms are brawling. O'Haire's obviously getting the advantage, but Helms is using Sheen moves. And what happens is, basically, Helms is able to lock in O'Haire into some sort of like quasi submission, somewhere like a crossface or something. And Palumbo's going after Morningstar, but Palumbo's able to drill Morningstar into the cage. And then hits a quick angel wings on him to get the pinfall victory. And then it looks like it's going to be Helms and Morningstar picking apart O'Haire, but O'Haire's a strong hot fire babyface, so we get the spot where he runs through a clothesline from them, hits a flying clothesline on both of them, throws Helms out of the ring. There's some cage spots. In the end, O'Haire's able to lock down Morningstar, kick, wham, Widowmaker, and get the pinfall victory over Morningstar. And, Morningstar, just sort of, like, nods, and then walks out of the ring. Then the lights go out. And when the lights come back on, Macias is in the ring. Again, for some reason, the booking didn't show it, but I don't know. Actually, let's look at the booking details. Yeah, okay. I don't know why it doesn't show, because in the booking details, maybe because of the cage match, and Ollie mocks it out. When TEW should know by now, cage matches do not know lack of interference, but you see. Anyway, Macias comes in, like Macias is now in the ring. He chokeslams O'Haire, hits the the quarter toss, razor's edge, big old finisher, leaves O'Haire lying, and then walks out, joins Morningstar as they both walk away. And then Helms, is able to walk over and get the pinfall victory over Sean O'Haire to get the win. So yes, in one match, despite neither being clean at all, Helms has now pinned Bill Goldberg and Sean O'Haire. I think he's going to talk about that a bit, maybe. And the match itself gets an 85. Goldberg gets a 94. Kenny gets a 94. Helms gets an 83. Morningstar gets an 86. O'Haire gets an 88. Palumbo gets an 87. And yeah, you could mention that the guy who actually got the worst performance won the match, but got to build new stars. And this isn't this is Helms officially becoming a main event guy. And post match, O'Hell. Oh, right, no, yeah, Helms basically escapes as O'Hare continues to be destroyed by Macias, as Macias and Morningstar just come in and just wreck O'Hare. This gets an 81, and yeah, just a huge thing there. And now it's main event time. Yes! Oh my god. Okay. New thing, all pay-per-view shows are now in Mexico. That's it. Like, no more shows in the US. We're now Mexican-based promotion. I'm joking, but am I? Anyway, and about that, that's pro wrestling and great heat. Eddy Guerrero defeated Vampiro in 2027 by pinfall following a frog splash. Eddy Guerrero makes defense number 2 as world heavyweight title. So again, this is just a banger, like, Vampiro and Eddy pulling out all the stops, all their tricks, all their throwbacks to their characters in Mexico. Like Vampiro, Eddy's of course treated like a national hero. Vampiro was a long time, star here, and they just go back and forth battling all over. There's some brawling, there's some big moves. Eddy Guerrero hits the three amigos. Vampiro hits a nail in the coffin, but Eddy Guerrero hits his foot on the ropes. Big dives, big superplex, big moves. But in the end, Eddy Guerrero is the world champion for a reason. He's the best wrestler on the planet for a reason. Blue Thunder Bomb, Brainbuster, up top, Frog Splash, 1, 2, 3. 96, like I said, Eddy gets a 90, Vampiro gets an 83. Let me see, is there any other reason? Yeah, hot crowd, but yeah. So Eddy retains, and the show ends with Eddy, Ray, and Chavo all coming out to celebrate to the Mexican crowd as they put over, as the announcers put over the enormity of this event. This gets a 98, and yeah, great stuff. Honestly, like, hopefully, like, I'm going to check Eddy's overness, and if he's not more over after like those two great matches, he's really hit the pot cap. Like, that's just would be the end of things. So this gets a 94, which I think is one of our best shows ever. So of course, Eddy, Booker, honestly, Ray, yeah. Like, that was literally like one of the more surprising pay-per-views I had as far as like match quality. Like, again, like, I only quasi joking when I can say let's just have our pay-per-views in Mexico from now on. So yeah, of course, it gets fantastic reviews. It had like three like 4.5-star matches. Also, OVW, Constantine defeated Homicide, CM Punk defeated Justice, which is Abyss. Any other booking? Let's see here. Nah, not really. Sarah Stock. So email, okay, Dusty Rhodes, doesn't connect with the fans. I mean, sure. So I'm going to check a couple things real quick. First, Eddy, are you more over? Please be. Okay. I really hate to say it, but I think Eddy's hit his pop cap. I really think Eddy's hit his pop cap, which is unfortunate because, like, look at like he's really good. Like, I don't know. It's sad. It's really sad because I've enjoyed the character I built for him. I enjoyed the booking, but at a certain point, like, he's not like has top guy, overness right now. Like, I mean, uh, like, yeah, I mean, okay, Booker, I think really got hurt by, like, yeah, okay, so he really got hurt by the loss here. So did RVD. I'll go over this more specifically. Actually, let me just go over this stuff a little bit. Okay, so Goldberg. Goldberg lost some. No, he didn't even really lose some pop because they kept him strong. Booker T, like we said. Did Chavo gain some pop just for being in that 98? Actually, yeah, he did. Yeah, that's the insane thing is Chavo got more pop from being in that like 98 segment than Eddy did from winning that 96 match. Let's see here. Palumbo lost a little bit, which makes sense. We already went over Eddy. Let's see here. Did Elix Skipper gain him a decent amount of pop? Okay, so he gained a couple points of pop because he lost, but he was still at 96. Let's see here. Who else do we care about? Jamie Knoble. Did you lose some pop from losing, or did you gain some pop from being in a good match? Okay, yeah, Jamie had a great match, and he gained some, okay, Jarrett. Okay, so Jarrett So Jarrett lost a decent amount of pop for losing to Jett in London, which makes sense. Hardy, I think... Hardy might... Yeah, Hardy got really hurt by losing the Cavs, which makes sense. Jonathan Toro. Jonathan Toro actually gained a lot of pop. I mean, he did get some big ones on Nitro as well. Jushin Thunder Liger. Liger's okay, basically about the same. Kanyon. Kanyon also lost some pop. Yeah, Kanyon, okay. Kanyon lost a little bit of pop. Did Kaz gain a lot? Hopefully. Okay, he gained like a couple points. Let's see here. Lance Storm. Storm, okay. Storm actually like jumped firmly in the mid card. Macias is still really over. Let's see here. Morningstar. Where are you? Okay, Morningstar actually lost a decent amount of pop for losing. Again, I probably should have just kept everybody strong, but that would have been just silly. London, again, actually really getting close to being significantly over. Rey Mysterio Jr. Interesting that he lost. I mean, he did lose some matches on Nitro, so that's not completely out of the realm possibility. RVD, of course, yeah, he dropped a little bit. Sean O'Hare, okay, lost a little bit. Again, all these guys can be rebuilt very quickly. And here's a big one. Okay, so Shane Helms, oops, that's his match history, not his popularity. So, okay, interesting. Okay. Yikes. Okay, so despite going over everybody, he still's only at us. Alrighty, my Ada made some interesting decisions as far as like who I put over. And then Vamp. Okay, I mean Vamp lost a little bit, but not the end of the world or anything. So if we look at creative real quick, so creative Goldberg, RVD, Eddy, Ray, Kanyon. So if I who you think, Hot is awesome. Kidman, Steiner, RVD, Vamp. Who's not is just Jason Jett, despite getting a big win. Okay. Talk to Talk is Kanyon, Flair. Right. Okay. Interesting. Storylines, like everything's still hot. Of course, I'll do my like post pay-per-view changeover to the Super Brawl. Let me just see if there's anything interesting as far as like who's considered a major star. Okay, so everybody who should be is a major star. Is there anybody who's like less like sort of? Not really. Okay, I mean everybody's like yeah. So yeah, I mean this was to me a very interesting show because we had really good matches, but unfortunately didn't like. I mean, I made some bad booking decisions as far as like game wise goes, because I didn't like what's the word I'm looking for? Because I didn't like maybe pick the best people to go over because they may have pop caps. I mean Shane, like Helms, I'll see how he does in the past couple weeks as a top guy. Like if he doesn't go over his pop cap, so be it. If he has a pop cap around 80, and Eddy, well, I mean, like I think after what just happened tonight, that's sort of like I don't want to say like proof. Like I mean, let's just go over his like Mexico overness just to see if there's actually any difference. So if we look over to Mexico, okay, so Mexico, yeah, I mean he's also at an 80 for Mexico. So if we look at that history, if that's any different. Nope. Okay. Yeah. It's really quick. Okay. I mean, like, it's not the end of the world or anything. Like, I mean, part of this is for game purposes, but also part of this is the booking. Like, I want to make Shane Helms a top heel. So even if, like, he's over enough to be a top heel, like, he won't, like kill any if he doesn't, even if he doesn't get any over. Same thing with Eddy. And, of course, like, I can rebuild all the people who lost popularity to their losses tonight. But, you hurt some people a little bit popularized to gain them. That's how wrestling works. But regardless, I hope you guys have really enjoyed this. Again, go to the link that'll be in the description below for the year-end awards. But that's it for now. So if you enjoyed this, go ahead and get a like. Comment below what you're enjoying and not enjoying. And subscribe to the channel for lots of TEW 2020 content, including this series, my WCW 2013 series, which is starting with lots of random number generated goals for me. My MLW 2005 series, now leading after Devil's Night with a new world champion. and my WCW 1993 with no Eric Bischoff series now in 1984. But that's it for now, so talk later, and have a good one. Adios.